Ben Riggs presents D&D Out Loud. Episode 91, Jenga as Game Design.
Welcome once again, assembled internet masses, to D&D Out Loud with me, Ben Riggs, apparently controversial Dungeons & Dragon historian and author of Slaying the Dragon, A Secret History of Dungeons & Dragons, available at finer physical bookstores, Amazon.com, and, please don't pirate it. With me today are two flaming luminaries of the TTRPG space. First up, we have Quinn Murphy, the creator of Community Radio, an improv-driven role-playing game about a weird town, dark humor, supernatural trouble, and the public radio station trying to narrate its way through the madness. And again, I'm a Night Vale guy, so for me that was an incredible pitch. He is also the founder of Thoughtcrime Games, which is also a 10 out of 10 company name. He's an editor, contributor, and layout designer of the Grio Anthology, which is an anthology of African-American game designers. Please welcome Internet Hordes, Quinn Murphy.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Second, last, but by no means least, we have one of the great mad scientists of tabletop role-playing. Epidiah Ravachol created Dread, the game that made a horror role-playing game out of a Jenga tower. It's brilliant, it's cruel, elegant game design that makes players sweat before anything terrible has even happened. I've seen children play it. I've seen celebrities play it. It just seems a game that is a new doorway into the hobby. He's just launched a sword and sorcery role-playing game called Swords Without Master. Please welcome one of the gaming masters of Massachusetts, Epidiah Ravachol.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So I'm going to start off with a pesky question for listeners who might be interested, because and Quinn, I'm sorry, because it's about Epidiah's social circle, but so Epidiah, you're in Massachusetts, in Greenfield, which is also where the bakers are, and where why can't I forget the romance trilogy? Why can't I remember her name?
Oh, you mean Emily Care Boss?
Yeah. So like all of you are in the same small town in Massachusetts?
Well, I mean, yes, but two of us are in the same house. Emily Care Boss is my wife.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she released Ice Break,
Bubblegum
Shoes. Yep.
Breaking the Ice the same year that Dread came out, and that's how we met, actually. So
okay, you're blowing my mind here. Like, so you both put out stunning role-playing games and then started dating?
Yeah, well, it was we put them out. We didn't meet at that. So okay, old person alert. This is before Kickstarter. You released at conventions, and most of the time you released at Gen Con. That was the one that was going to put you on the map. That was the that's where you wanted to be, especially around the early aughts. And sorry, Milwaukee. I really loved Gen Con in Milwaukee, but like Indianapolis was when I really hit the scene. So
you're not going to hear me, and I'm from Milwaukee, so please continue.
Yeah. But we I think we both released at Gen Con that year, but we did not meet there at Gen Con. It wasn't until a local convention in Greenfield that Emily organized called JiffyCon. A friend of mine was like, hey, you got to come up to this JiffyCon. I'm going to introduce you to some people, which included the Bakers and Julia Ellingbow. Steelaway Jordan was her big game around that time. Joshua C. Newman, who did Shock and Human Contact, and there were other people that weren't like people traveled, and I met a lot, just like a lot of names that you would recognize. I met, but they were all just like it was in like this church basement, and there was like maybe 30 people there in total. Like it wasn't like a giant convention or anything like that, but it was a lot of fun.
I want you to know I've already plotted out the romance novel. I mean, like, look, if we can't make this work, like it's oh god, it's going to be a bestseller. Like, I'll say you don't need to tell me anything else. It doesn't matter. I'll make the rest up. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
I mean, it's probably weird to have. We met less than 10 minutes ago, and I'm like, I'm going to write 100,000-word novel about the most private things in your life, based on very little information.
Yeah, go for it. We can compare notes afterwards. We could do like a director's cut and a subject's cut or something like that. Yeah.
I mean, it's such a good story, but
I mean, keeping it actually on theme too. You could actually, this would make a hell of an RPG.
Right? Yeah.
For the love of the game.
Yeah. Oh,
right? Bam.
Good.
Hit it.
Good.
I mean, design a game good enough to attract the smartest mate. I don't know. Like, okay, I've totally wandered into the weeds on this one, but I'm so fascinated. So you met the Bakers at the same time as Emily?
Yeah, like I'm trying to remember. I think because I went to 2 Jiffy Cons, maybe even in the same year, like one in the summer and one in the fall, or one in the spring and the fall, or whatever. And I think at one of them, the Bakers, my mutual friend with the Bakers we stayed at the Baker's house because of that. And so that was like, I think the first Baker that I met was like their middle child. Like, and then the next time we went up, that's when I met Emily. And then the next time we stayed, Emily at the time lived on a farm in the mountains near here, and we stayed at that farm. They actually had a cabin on their land, a cabin that like her and her housemates stayed in while they built their house, which is really
oh my god,
one of the more badass things. But like, yeah, so that second time it was really cold, and I remember like inside their house they had a wood burning stove, and I just hung out by the wood burning stove all night talking to Emily about games, because partly because it was great fun. I was really getting to love like this woman, and also it was much warmer inside than in that cabin.
So you're telling me it was hot with Emily by the stove?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay, so Quinn, I'm sorry, I just have a fascination by these like nests of brilliance that seem to crop up, and I was like, Epidiah Ravachol is in the same place as the Bakers, the same place as Emily Care-Boss, and if I knew you two were together, I'd just forgotten it over the course of the years. So as long as I'm drawing a map of relationships, I'll ask. So Epidiah, you suggested having Quinn on to have a conversation. Right. What made you decide that Quinn was someone you'd want to talk to in public, as it were?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. Quinn and I are not too geographically distant, but we don't get a whole lot of time to hang out together. But I think like sometimes I'm just like off the dome. I think a lot of times, Quinn, like you do amazing threads on game design in like Blue Sky and whatever social medias came before it. And I think probably at the time I had read one and I was like, oh yeah, I would love to talk to Quinn again. That's great. Like that was I just don't know which one it is off the top of my head, but yeah.
Yeah.
So he's a genius, you're saying. That's why.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like when Quinn starts a thread, I don't know. I don't know what it's like on your end, but like sometimes you start a thread and I'm like, okay, I start liking it, and then I'm just sitting there waiting for the next post to kind of come up. Like I'm just like, yeah, okay, yeah, yep.
Yeah, it's weird because like it's this weird. It's like sometimes I'll have like a thought, and it's like I'll be like getting my morning coffee, and it's just like I've oscillated between different things. Like sometimes it's like, hey, I just like want to make a quick like post that has something in my head, and then like an hour later, I'm like finally like got everything out of my head. And I'm just like, oh my god. what the heck happened here, right? Like it was not quite so short. Like I'm really terrible at being consistently concise. And so then I used to just be like, okay, like I cannot, like, I go on like long retreats sometimes, like where I'm just like, okay, I got to focus on this other stuff I have to do and stuff. But then like it would sort of build up like a pressure and volcano. Like sometimes it's just my brain has something to say, and it was just like, look, if you don't say it somewhere, like I'm not going to let you work on other things. So you might as well get the thing. So like now what I have is like a sort of time partition, right? Like, during like midday, most of the time I don't get to like, post, but then like after there, and then usually there's some thing on there. And then it just is sometimes I start a thread with an intention. And then as I start like letting it out, it's like, oh yeah, no, there's this other stuff. And then it just kind of I'm riding the lightning at that point. I'm just like, okay, let's just, go until like I kind of run out of stuff. And,
there's interesting thing about the medium, right? Like, because I experienced the same thing. Like, I'm like, okay, I have a thought that's too big for a single bluesk. Right. And I'll start writing, and then I'll be like, I get into this thing where I'm like, okay, I need to find the part of that thought that does fit in a single, post, and then like, and that refines the way you're thinking. Like, I'm not saying that it's always a good thing, but it makes you think about it. It makes you think, okay, what is it that I'm trying to say?
Right.
And then you can kind of end up getting into these like beats where you're like, you start saying something, you have like, each one is almost like an episode, thinking about episodic television or something that maybe have a season-long arc. I don't, my metaphor isn't working here, but anyways, and then you get to like the reincorporation at the end, and you're like, yeah, I did it. And for audiences of dozens, and it's great. Like, it's like...
So I will confess that the Grio Anthology is new to me. So of course, while you were chatting, I pulled it up really quick, and a piece that just immediately jumped out at me was Reich Breakers, which I'm just going to read the description of this game in the anthology. In a desperate bid to stop the Third Reich during the 1940s, the U.S. government needed to create their own super soldiers to combat those the Nazis were using. They exposed black soldiers to Vita rays, granting some of them superpowers. Use these powers to fight against the Reich and fight for your rights. And it's funny because it's one of those things where like one person might be like, that sounds like a knockoff Captain America, but then the response is, of course, well, who actually got experimented on by the U.S. Army?
Yeah.
Right.
How would this have? You're like that's more realistic. Like that makes more sense.
Yeah.
It just struck me as so. Just reading a paragraph, brilliant. But you've got my $15, sir.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and that was a great one from Shan Wolf. That was his concept. I did helped out flesh out some of the system for that one, but yeah, like that's a really great, like I love that concept there. It's like kind of like like on the Grio Anthology, one of the things I love is just like in sort of assembling sort of folks for it. Like I had the idea to do that last year during Black History Month, and as I got people together, my main directive was just kind of just not to, sometimes when you do something and it's like, hey, here's this is the thing that we're doing, like a bunch of Black people, there's like all this expectation of like, okay, what should it be, and you should talk about these things or not. And I wanted people to be sort of free to talk about sort of Blackness as they see fit and what kind of there. And then what we got was this like huge array of like different styles of games. We got Right Breakers. One of them is like you're holding like a necromantic seance for like a loved one, and is played with dominoes is like the main engine. Like there's all sorts of wild stuff in there, and I love it.
Wow. Yeah, the played you. I'm just going to read the actual description of what you said because it sounds so cool. Come Out from Your Grave by Basil Wright. You have gathered to revive someone recently deceased. Played using dominoes, you build the story of the ritual and the results of the revival. Will the ritual be successful? What will you sacrifice? Lay the bones and find out. Wow.
That's great.
Mhm.
So, again, sorry to just turn this into a straight up plug, but so okay, now again, I try to get a conversation started and then hang back a little bit. So I'll throw one of my conversation starters. Again, it's not that I'm not here or anything, but see if I can allow conversation to grow. So, if the two of you had to design a game in one weekend, what would it be about?
Oh, like
Interesting.
together? The two
Together,
of us.
yeah,
do it.
yeah, the two of you
Oh,
together.
this would be good. This would be fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to start with one thing. So, one of your the ones you're not, again, like Dread and
Mhm.
and sort of like, I love those, but one of my favorite ones, and also Wolf Spell, I have like actually like about like 5 or 6 vinyl covers
Yeah.
of that. But one of my favorite ones that I think would make a great engine is Vast and Starlit.
Oh yeah. All right. Yes.
Right. And I like, I would love to like start there and like do something with that.
Well, like, here's the thing. When you got something like Vest and Starlit, we don't have to do a single game. We could do
Right.
it would be kind of fun to do like a game that like encompassed like the whole history of role playing. Like, we do first edition and then second edition and third. Like follow the just because. So I don't know if I should explain Vast and Starlit.
Please explain it.
Maybe, yeah.
I was going to pause to be like, please tell the uninitiated.
Yeah, so Vast and Starlit was a game that I wrote on a business card. It was I found online a place that was selling business cards that it's the size of. I wish I had a copy on me, but it's the size of 2 business cards that fold like that, so it opens like a book, kind of like. And I wrote it, and I can't read it now because I've grown old and my eyesight is not great. I need to relay that whole thing out. So I don't want to use it as like an excuse to like, let me reissue this. But originally I made it, and then I showed it off to the bakers. We were having coffee and I was like, I have this game here. It's basically inspired by Apocalypse World's Read a Situation. I just like the idea of reducing everything down to like this set of questions, like the questions you can ask. So in Vast and Starlit, the main sort of mechanic is that you do something until someone else, you just start saying what your character is doing, and then somebody else will tell you when you try to do something that is it dangerous or difficult, or the problem is I did a hack of Vast and Starlit that does like harmful and hard, I think, and I can't remember which one. But anyways, the idea is somebody says this is too dangerous, or this is too difficult, and then you stop, and people have to tell you if they said it was difficult, they have to tell you what it needs in order to accomplish it, and if it was dangerous, they had to tell you like what's the consequence if you decide to go through with it. And then we move on to someone else, and you come back and find out which one you decided to do later on. So it's like cliffhangers. It's been a while since I've read this 500-word game, so I don't remember all of it.
I'm downloading it right now.
Yeah, yes. I mean, one of the things I really enjoyed about that game is that originally the only way to get it was to get a physical copy. You had to either meet me in person and hand me a $1 bill, or you would there was like 4 supplements to it, I think. Wait, 3. and each one, like I said, or you draw a alien, and you get the Vast and Starlit one. Send me $1 in a drawing of an alien. Send me $1 in some alien technology. The sunset of a weird world or something like that. There's different ones for each piece, and I got so much really cool art in the mail. Like it was, like people had their kids draw them, so I got
that's
like
amazing.
Yeah, I have in my dining room. Somebody sent in stretch canvas 1 inch by like 1.5 inches, like tiny little actual paintings, but they were, like they're almost the size of the game itself. And they sent me 4 of them. And when we bought this house, they just happened to have these 4 evenly spaced places where they were holding like these large Art Nouveau depictions of the different seasons or whatever. And so instead we have these tiny little almost postage stamp size.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. But it was great. And I said, like, send me $1 or the dollar equivalent of $1 of whatever your currency is. And I still have like a jar here full of just random currency from around the world. I have francs, like currency that doesn't exist anymore. People were like, yeah, here you go. I can't do anything with this. It's yours now. That was sorry, a little trip down memory lane there. But yeah, Vast and Starlit, I think, is a good we could do a good starting point there. So okay, what setting would you like to do?
So okay, I am in my Warhammer 40,000 deconstruction era.
Oh, all right.
So like I don't know if you've seen there. I've been kind of like one of the things that my brain has been forcing me to do, other than the writing that I've been wanting to do, is like revisit and relitigate like war games. Like I also do sort of like I pretty much do like all sorts of like games. Like the only games like I can't do are bad ones. But like I will if it's good, I don't really care about genre. So and I've been going on there, and I've been kind of like looking at I think there's like, there's the whole sort of grimdark setup, in the future there is only war. And that's like, I understand why that is like attractive and kind of like draws people to, and for a long time it like, was like, oh yeah, man, like, yeah, this epic like battle and stuff. And I don't know if I got like old or just like my taste grew, or like some combination of the two, but like what I keep thinking about and what I keep coming back to is like, so like what happens like around the edges of that, and like what happens when people tire of that, right? Like, like in the center there's all these like noble warriors and doing all this other stuff, but like there's like, also like fathers and like mothers and like kids and like people like trying to live their, like, who are getting their lives like upended. Like what happens around that? And it's like I would sort of like love to use that engine to like make a as like a set of like micro games that like tell lives around the like sometimes maybe in the center of it, like one could be all about sort of the grunts in the middle of the war who are just kind of like they're being used cheaply, and then other ones are about like a world where you have to retreat because they're going to, it's a Xenos threat. We have to bomb your whole town, right? Stuff like that, and sort of pick places to like land our sort of narrative ship, and then like zoom in, and then use that engine to kind of like tell whatever tale is there. It's sort of married to kind of I made this game a bit ago called Wildfire Trilogy. And it is like it's a triptych with like a prologue of games, and it's very like procedurally run. It's like, hey, so it'll like lead you from step to step, like, hey, you are, it starts out, it tells a tale of magic becoming sentient, and then like no longer being controlled by wizards. So, it starts out with like, okay, you're all archmages, and like, one of you is like totally corrupted and going to kill the archmage, and like, and like lets you tell that story. And so like using that kind of lens to tell that. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I like, well, for one, my nephew, Jack, just really got into Warhammer 40K. They're all like your uncle, he knows about this. I do, but like it's been last time I played anything. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. I played like some of the Final Fantasy, like the card game, Death Angel and stuff like that. But like when I got minis on the ground was, in the 90s. Like it's been a while. But I hooked him up with some friends of mine that were really into it. But there's some stories in 40K that I actually like. One of the things that I really love, or really want to explore, is this like there's so many different kinds of factions of Space Marines, and I just feel like it would be great to tell the story of a birth of a new faction, right? Like just like
right.
Yeah. Please tell me about the rise of a new faction of Space Marines.
Yeah. Well, okay. So as I was saying, I've always enjoyed the fact that Space Marines have all these different factions. They're not all there for the Emperor or whatever. And a story about one of those, the incident that gives rise to one of those, or that would be fun. Another thing, I'm going to talk a little bit about history that I'm not entirely familiar with. So I'm going to, please don't judge me. But the condottieri, which were like mercenary forces in Italy during the Renaissance, would have like this elaborate armor, and oftentimes it was like for show, like they would show up for a fight, but like somebody had bribed somebody else. Like it's all like, like they don't want. I would love to just have like that be a thing in like the 40K style universe where like all of the armor and the why it looks so great is just because you need to like there are going to be people that will hire you to protect them, and you need to look impressive, and then you just pay off your buddies in the other group to let them through or whatever. And like it's all more negotiations and just like the look of it. Do we lose Ben now?
Nope. Oh, you shouldn't have. Can you hear me?
Oh, yep. Okay. Sorry. No, it was weird. Your video had frozen for me, but
sorry.
So, I got through those.
I love that because it's like, it's another one of these responses to the endless war where people are like, okay, all right, like, maybe the best way to like fight these wars is to not fight these wars.
Yeah.
Right.
From your lips to Jupiter Maximus's ears.
Yes.
And it's like I could even see themselves giving themselves like kind of like these like grand instead of like mercenaries, they call themselves the warhounds, right? Like you like, I hired a pack of like warhounds, and you got this guy with like 1,000 medals on like a big like pauldrons on his armor. He can barely walk in it, and they can like recite all of these litanies, and like the only thing that they have to do is stay away from like actual fighting people, right? Like do not for any reason get in front of like Space Marines, right? Like they will murder you.
And even beyond that, your armor is so expensive. Like you don't want to lose it, you don't want to harm it, you don't want to like you just show up and there's a bunch of pyrotechnics. Like it's like a Guar concert or something.
Yeah, I could see making like a whole kind of set around like kind of tales from like the Warhounds, and like just where kind of like using some of those like assessment kind of like verbs is like, hey, are you able to like bribe your way out of the situation? Do you actually have to fight your way out of the situation, or like do you know someone, right? And it's like almost this kind of like weird like instead of like grim dark, it's like grim fun. right?
Yes.
At the end, it's like you're making this like humorous play at the edge of like if you go deep into it, it's like, oh yeah, it's like blood and guts, like horror, whoo, like stay out of that, right? But like if you get on the edge, we've got like these kind of goofball, sort of cynical people that we could play.
Yeah. I think that's got some juice. I think we could do something like that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And my question would be, how do you again, maybe this answer is inherent in the system, but it sounds like a game that is going to have actually very little combat, which I enjoy. I love a good game without combat. But how do you think that's a harder sell to the audience?
Well, okay, that's a good question about. So the question then becomes like, wow, who's the audience, right? Like, we're too early in game design to worry about that.
Fair.
No,
I
I think you're right. Like, there's a bit of I get this nostalgic feeling for certain styles of games, and like if somebody's like, hey, check out this Warhammer 40K like game, and it's like, but you'll never roll to shoot a person, right? Like that's I would be like, okay, I'm really curious to see what that is, but also I know that, like, for instance, teenager after would be like, I don't care. Like, I don't like, I've got 40K here, but yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting.
I think so. On like one end, there's like, like it's not like your typical kind of thing. Like I feel like your typical audience are probably people who are like know this stuff and have been around. Like 40K is like so old at this part. There are people who've like kind of grown, like we've grown up with it, and so we're at that part where it's just like, oh, like hey, like a another take on it on the theme that is not actually fighting is like fine by me, right? And I think that might be good for other people. But another way that we could position it to like really kind of double down on both the humor end of it, but also the kind of like the actual nature of the war game is that, so the comic tragedy of Warhounds is they always end up in the middle of a fight. Always. No matter what their thing is. And so that at the end of a session, the thing that will always arise is like those characters being in the middle of a battle of two forces, which you can then fight out in like they're like the Warhounds games, all like those sessions always end in an actual game of Warhammer 40K.
Right.
Like, even though they try to avoid it.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're like, oh, we set this out perfectly. I called my buddies. We had this whole fake mock skirmish, and then the Tyranids came out. Right? And like, and then the Space Marines came out, and like now here are my guys stuck in the middle, and we're just cursing at each other, like, oh my god, how can we get out of here?
There's a thing. There's a game. Oh man, I'm blanking on the name now. It's a near future military sci-fi game. It with anthropomorphic animals. Oh man, it'll come to me. It'll come. Man.
All I can the answer is wrong, but Rifts comes immediately to mind for me when you say anthropomorphic animals in the future. But
no, this one was done by Sanguine Games. They do a lot of like anthropomorphic games, and they have some really interesting game design. But in particular, this game, I can't.
I'll just Google it.
Yeah. But the one of the things that I really like about that game is that it inverts the combat, where a lot of times you're not rolling to see if you hit anyone, you're rolling to not get hit. Like that's your and I can really see that sort of dynamic with the you get into the these warhounds get into the battle, then their objective is not do they defeat anyone. Their objective is can they get out of there? Like they're not going to defeat anyone. Like,
Right.
you will not get a kill. That is not your job, and it's also not a thing you're capable of doing. You just need to get out of there with
It's
your
not
expensive
Untamed
armor.
Worlds, is it?
No, I think. Wait, hold on. Albedo.
Yes.
Albedo.
I was thinking like a beta. Okay. Yes. That's a.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. It's probably out of print because it was
Yeah.
a
Oof.
licensed game,
Yeah.
so this goes back a ways. But yeah, it does a lot of interesting things with like the military. Like you're playing fire teams, like you're the commander of a fire team, but like you control 5 characters, like the commander and the 4 characters underneath it.
Okay.
And a lot of your concern is to make sure that their morale doesn't break, and things like that. But it's really neat.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the sort of thing that I like. I really would enjoy seeing in a a war game, role playing game thing where it's like, no, what we're really worried about is the guy sitting next to you, right? Like,
Right.
not that they're gonna stab you, but like he's had a bad day, and we
Right.
want to make sure like he gets through it, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. And there's another game called Albedo about factions on the moon using a Luke Gearing system.
Oh,
Interesting.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's only $12 on Exalted Funeral, and I mean Luke Gearing, that guy's everywhere. Feels like I can't turn over a rock without seeing Luke Gearing something or other. I had on Brad Kerr a few weeks ago, who's one of the French company that does the OSR stuff. Anyway,
Mhm.
he said that Luke Gearing was his rival, but Luke Gearing didn't know it. All right, we're running a little low on time. What should we discuss
yeah.
that we haven't discussed yet?
Oh man, that's like such a wide open.
I mean, I got a list of things. It feels selfish for me to be like, let me pull from my list when I've already done that. So anything you guys want to talk about?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'd be like, hey, Quinn, let's get together and do some gaming or something sometime. But I don't know if that's podcast material.
I'm a little interested, actually. But so I'll just say this, Quinn, can you tell us about community radio?
Well, yeah.
Community radio is Yemi made man, like almost like a decade ago, and then made like a second edition a couple years ago. And it is a improv heavy love letter to Welcome to Night Vale. It's very fun. It's one of my favorite games I've made, for the simple fact is that there is like every time like I run it or see people playing it, there's this kind of like first turn where it's like everybody's like looking at it skeptically. There's like no character sheets. There's like we're just kind of like there's one part where you act out kind of some like we make up like kind of the scene prompts in this Mad Lib. Right. And then it's like, okay, hey, like, like a 3-headed monster like walks into like the village cafe, right? Everybody looks at him nonchalantly, right? While he eats somebody, right? Like you make something that absurd and then you like play it out, right? And then someone goes and makes like we turn it to the host and then they sort of take the parts of the scene and then they make a radio broadcast about it. And it and what's fun about it is like people are like kind of like, what's going on here for like a loop or two, and then third loop top, everybody like gets it, they're online, and then it just goes crazy, right? Like it just like kind of like it is like this high ramp up thing. It's very high energy, so it's like you don't, unless you have a lot of people, you don't really play it for like hyper long. You play maybe like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and that's good because it is very high improv and stuff. But for that time, it's just fun. Yeah, we have like lots of different stations and settings for
it. That thing where you're saying like you do like by the time that you get to the third loop, you get it and everyone's in and stuff like that. And like that is magic. I love witnessing that, and it's also for me personally, like so horrifying in the beginning. Like you gotta trust the game. It'll work. You'll get there. But like, yeah, it's. I feel like that's like one of the larger barriers to designing any kind of game. It's just to like be like, hey, you're good. We'll make this happen. You'll have fun. It's just you just got to ramp up to it here. Yeah.
Well, one of the beautiful things about RPGs that is also the thing that's difficult about RPGs is that a thing I say all the time is like they are games more than any genre of game are about cognitive fit, right? There's like there are RPGs that I can't play them, not because they're bad, and I can look at them as a game designer. I can look at them as like, oh, this is good. Right. And I was like, this is like well done and stuff like that. And then I like close it and I'm just like, but not for me. Right. Like I won't be playing this. Right. But it's not because I think it's bad or deficient in any ways. It just doesn't click with me. But then there's also in that cognitive fit, this expectation of cognitive fit, which can like kind of become this like inertia where there's this kind of part of like, oh, like I don't think this game will fit with me, so I'm not sure that I want to even enter it. I feel like if say community radio had like much more, like had any like mechanical complexity up front, then people would be locked out of, because like, oh my god, all this stuff is like new. But it's like, I tried to design it so there's like, hey, there's like really, once you get over the weirdness of not having all of these things, you'll be good, right? But that's the hardest thing is overcoming that little bump.
Yeah.
Then let me ask, Epidiah, tell me about Swords Without Sword Without Master, or Swords Without Master?
Swords plural, Master singular. I like the difficult titles.
Tell me about Sword Without Masters and how people and where people can acquire it.
Right. So it's a game. It came out a little over a decade ago. We're doing what I'm calling is a fix-up, which is we're taking the game as it is. I've written many things for it over the years, and we're just putting it all together in one volume. But like, touching it up so it all works together into one thing. It was originally published in a magazine and not like this is the first time it'll be standalone. So the game is a sword and sorcery game where the dice care less about whether you succeed or fail and more about the tone of your narration. So you've got a glum die, you have a jovial die, you roll those before you do anything in the game, and that tells you the tone that you have to be in. Those tones are interpreted pretty broadly while you play the game, so you don't have to be like laughing all the time and crying all the time. There's other ways to deal with that, but like we were just saying, like this game is one of those games where like when I sit down to play with people who aren't familiar with like maybe like people who've just only played D&D, or it takes like, I go through the rules of the game and I can feel like they're like, okay, but this is outside my experience. I don't know if this is my thing or whatever. And then we make characters, which is the character creation process is like, you have to get something called Eidolon, which is something of our world that reminds you of your character in, that could be anything, but the most common thing that I've used in the past is like fantasy illustrations. I used to have like a deck of art cards that I take the con to run it. So for the Kickstarter, we've hired, I think we're up to 18 artists to do tarot size Eidolon cards. This is amazing fantasy illustrations. I am not going to go through the names of the artists. You can find them on the. There's some great names. I just don't want to leave anyone out when I mention them. I'm blown away by what we've seen so far. It's super exciting. But one of the cool things about that is that like it's a free form. Like it doesn't have a setting. You're building a setting with your characters as you're building it. So one of the things you can do is you can take this deck of cards and you can be like, we're theming like we're calling them folios. It's like 8 cards a piece in total. I can't remember how many we're up to now, but I think we got 7 or 8 of them. But anyways, you can be like, I want this folio and this folio in, like you know, the one that has like all the spacecraft because I like some spacecraft in my sword and sorcery, or the one that like, here's the deck of cursed swords, let's throw that in there. I want to have some cursed swords in our world, you know, that kind of thing. But what I was saying is, much like your community radio, Quinn, you play it for a little bit, and like in the beginning, if they're not used to this style of game, they're like, shaky leg, you know, and then it hits, and when it hits, I'm like, oh, good, we're home free. Like this is, I as the person demoing the game, trying to get you to love it, can relax and just enjoy this show because you're going to do some amazing things. But until that moment, I'm you know, on the edge of my seat there. I'm trying to get to it. And it's weird because like everyone does. Like I mean, not to, but you would think that I would get over the fear that they won't, but yeah.
But I mean, the fear is what makes the kind of like eventual like they get it, like more. That's fine. But I will say to that end, I think part of it is that Swords has this great rhythm to it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like there's this kind of like this, it's open and free form, but there's a pace, like we do these things.
Yeah.
We you know, like the worst thing I find is to ask people who aren't used to it to like, okay, make up anything you want, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
here are a couple things we're going to throw at you, and just be wildly creative here and here,
Right.
and you know, and it's not that people aren't creative, but most people aren't like serially creative,
Right.
and
Yeah.
improving all the time. It's like kind of fatiguing to actually do it, and like at some point they're just like, okay, I can't, or some people are just have a hard time initiating, they're not used to it. But if you have a rhythm that they can return to, it's like, hey, be creative, like here, do this, and then, you know, do this, and this will guide you here, and then loop back, right? And they can do it eventually, they can kind of get on board.
Yeah. Like one of the design things in that game is that there at no point are you creating a thing that isn't that someone else doesn't already have a hand in, right? Like somebody's asking you a question or making a demand of you. They're the one spot where that feels reversed is the discovery phase, where the players have to like come up with something, but then they ask questions from the you know. So it's like you have to trust that your overplayer is gonna. But yeah, by the time I introduce that phase, then I'm getting deep into a game that like the audience doesn't. Check it out; it's out there.
Yeah, but I think that people are here for a little bit into the weeds, though. You know,
Yeah.
like I feel like if this podcast is you went to a seminar at Gen Con with these game designers and this is what they talked about for an hour, I feel like that's the podcast. Maybe
yeah, I think that.
I find it very psychologically satisfying. I hope other people do. It seems like other people do too. I shouldn't talk it down like that. Anyway,
right, yeah.
Quinn, Epidiah, thank you both so much for being on here. Anything else you guys want to plug before we deuce out?
Check out Unwritten Earth Symposium. That's my new company with Nathan Paoletta. We're putting out swords, but we also have like a podcast and a Discord. Lots of good discussions going on that Discord. So
great stuff.
Yeah.
Quinn, anything else?
I have, besides some of the ones we talked about here, there's Wildfire Trilogy, which is a great small but I think very cool role-playing game about what happens when magic becomes sentient and wants to follow its own rules. I have the old ash can of 5 fires, and I'm working to update that. I should have an update in the next month or so with some new rules and other stuff, and then we'll be ready to publish that physically later in the year.
Wow. Okay, awesome. That's all amazing. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on, and have a great March in this dark year of 2026.
Yeah.
You too.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Great talking with you.